Hi, I'm Lisa Jean, and welcome to the second installment of Bellydance Practice Tips for Busy People. In today's lesson, we are going to be talking about the concept of the micro practice, which pairs really well with the first episode of habit stacking. If you haven't watched it, make sure that you subscribe to my channel. Go back and watch that video. So, micro practicing is exactly what it sounds like. It is taking a practice and doing a tiny little practice. So one of the things that I think we get trapped into as dancers is we tend to think that we can only practice in hour-long chunks, right? And I think that stems from the idea that most of our dance classes are an hour long, right? So when you go to class, it's an hour. You do a warm-up. You usually do some drills, some work on technique, maybe go across the floor. You'll do a combination, maybe a choreography, and you'll end with a cool down. This is a great way to structure practice. Unfortunately, most of us don't have an hour sitting around every day where we can practice. And so we fall into this trap of thinking, well, I don't have an hour to practice, so I guess I'm just not going to practice, right? Have you been there? I have been there. So I started thinking, well, if I don't have an hour to practice, and now I've gone months without practicing, how can I change that? As a mom of three, it's hard to find an hour to practice. So instead of trying to carve out an hour, what if we just did tinier practices? There's nothing wrong with practicing 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes. I like to practice between 20 and 40 minutes. It seems to be a good time frame that works for me and my schedule and the way that my brain works. There are times when it's nice to have longer practices, but sometimes it's literally just that 2 minutes of plies while I brush my teeth. Sometimes that's all I'm going to get. So when we micro practice, here's what we need to keep in mind. This is only effective if we're super focused. We need to pick one thing to work on. We can't get to our micro practice and go, gee, what am I going to do today? Because then you end up spending your 5 minutes of micro practice time just trying to figure out what you're going to practice. So come up with a plan ahead of time. Get out your notebook, make a list, write out drills you need to work on. Think about your class that you took last week. What did you need to work on from last week? Do you have a choreography coming up? Is there a move you're struggling with? Is there an overall technique that you're working on? One of the techniques that I've been working on is making better eye contact with my audience, because I tend to kind of dance and look off into outer space. So I've been doing very focused practices of being very intentional with my gaze and where my gaze is. So we need to be very clear on what we're going to practice. So as soon as you find your micro practice time, you can jump right into what you need to do. You don't have to spend your time fiddling around with, oh, I don't know what to do. You need to know ahead of time. Once it's planned out, then you can do it. Some great examples of where you can squeeze in a micro practice. Maybe on your lunch break. Maybe you have an hour for lunch, but it only takes you half an hour to eat your lunch. Maybe you can shut the door to your office and do a few drills. One thing that I've totally done, standing on the sidelines of soccer practice and work on that weird move that I'm having trouble nailing, or working on coming up with combinations for my next class. I do that a lot on the sidelines of soccer practice. I'm that mom. It happens. Another place that works really well for me is when my youngest one has quiet time. We're too old, we don't nap anymore, but we still have quiet time. She has quiet time for an hour, but to be honest, I have so many other things that are easier to do while she's having quiet time that I don't necessarily want to spend my entire hour dancing. So I shoot for about 20 to 30 minutes. I put her in her room, and then I come down, I get out my list, and I knock out the things that I need to do. If I'm really inspired and I have time, maybe it turns into a longer practice, but I know I can at least get that little micro practice in. Micro practices also work great while you're in the kitchen, waiting for something to simmer, waiting for the water to boil, waiting for dinner that's in the microwave, whatever. While you're in, there's a lot of waiting time in the kitchen, right? So put your list of things you want to work on, slap it on your refrigerator, put it on the microwave, put it somewhere where you're going to see it. And every time that you find yourself standing around the kitchen, waiting for the water to boil, you can look at your list and be like, hey, I can practice my shimmy. I can work on the transition between these two moves. I can run this choreography. Micro practices are going to be your saving grace as a very busy person. I know it seems that a short practice isn't very effective, but keep in mind that a short practice is better than no practice. And lots of little short practices will add up over time. So let's say you can squeeze in a 5-minute micro practice once a day. You don't have an hour, but you have 5 minutes. So let's say you do that 5 days a week. You've now practiced 25 minutes in a week. That's a heck of a lot better than no practicing, right? And as you do that over the month, it all adds up. Maybe you can squeeze in 2 5-minute practices a day. That would give you 10 minutes a day over the span of a week. Let's say 5 days. Let's not even worry about the weekends. Let's just say weekdays. So if you practice 10 minutes a day for your Monday through Friday, that's 50 minutes that you've practiced that week. That's a heck of a lot better than no practicing, right? So I encourage you to embrace the idea of the micro practice. Shift your brain away from that idea that practice has to be an hour. It's great if your practice is an hour, but we don't always have time for that. So find little pockets in your day where you can put in a micro practice. My challenge to you, sparkly friend, is to take a look at your day, take a look at your week, find a place where you can squeeze in one micro practice. See if you can squeeze in one micro practice 3 times a week. Put it on your calendar, put it in your phone so it reminds you to do it. And share with me, either in the comments, drop me a message, drop me an email, share with me when you're going to practice and what you're going to do when you do your micro practice. I want to know. I'm going to be your cheerleader. I'm going to hold you accountable to getting it done. If you're looking for more accountability, don't forget that I have the Bellydance Practice Club. This is what we're all about, is setting up our goals, finding time for these micro practices, and I am your personal practice coach who is right there guiding you, helping you along, cheering you on, helping you set your goals, helping you reach your goals, helping you evaluate your goals at the end of each month so you can be a better, happier, more satisfied dancer. So make sure that you like, follow, and subscribe to my channel because there will be more videos coming in this series of belly dance practice tips for busy people because I got a whole bunch of them. So stay tuned. We'll see you later.